Now this is an interesting cloud formation. This is the morning of the 16th, I believe. Look at those clouds. It looks like Loree dropped a bomb, and they're filled with semen or something, and it's just floating above my dome. And this is really bizarre.
Security breach!
At Southwestern High School in Indiana, the kids drill.
I see them all running past this red line. What is that?
The red line is a security measure, and that's in place because if we stand behind this red line, if there's a shooter at the door, they cannot see the children.
And this is something schools can do right now, this red line on the ground.
Absolutely.
But here they go high-tech too. The classroom doors are bullet resistant. And cameras, so many cameras everywhere. And it's not just school officials watching either. They're connected live with the sheriff's department 10 miles away. Authorities can track an intruder in real time.
Every teacher here, you have your own panic button.
Yeah, we all wear a fob in case there's a security breach. We can push this button and the entire alarm system goes off in the school.
And something else I actually want to show you real quick. When that happens, every classroom has a box like this, also hooked up to the sheriff's department. The teacher can flip help if they actually see the suspect or they're in danger, or they can flip safe if the kids are safe.
In 2015, I tested it, playing the intruder.
Showing a male subject in a blue suit.
If I was a real intruder, I couldn't get into a single classroom. They're all locked. Every last one of them.
But the biggest counterattack is yet to come.
He's walking towards exit 14. I'm going to launch the hot zone.
The school's secret weapon, called hot zones. Exploding smoke cannons hidden in the ceiling. Cops can deploy them in an instant.
Whoa. There is smoke. It is loud and it's meant to disorient the suspect. I mean, look at this. The smoke is filling the hallway. You can barely even see me. Whoa. The other amazing thing is they're watching the suspect on real-time cameras, so no matter where the suspect goes, they can keep setting off these hot zones so he stays blind.
The system is expensive, $400,000, but school officials say worth it in this scary new world. Jeff Rawson, NBC News, Shelbyville, Indiana.
I'm trying to make up for the horrible recording that I made the other day. And Loree McBride has really made this gun rights issue a big stink. She orchestrated the Parkland, Florida shootings, and I made a previous video about how I felt like she set the whole thing up. One of my Facebook supporters sent me a video about a school who had a setup that I think would work really good for us. So I just showed you the video of that. I think we should install that in all the schools, and we should also use citizen scanners. The citizen scanner works by doing brain and emotion reads of everybody in the vicinity of the scanner, and it will take out anybody who's dangerous using mind reads and emotion reads, and we have that technology today. And while I was thinking about all this stuff, and while I was going through my Twitter and Facebook pages, I noticed that I've got very strong circumstantial evidence that I had the real Brent Spiner, the Brent Spiner who was the data of Star Trek The Next Generation in my life in 1990 and 91. I actually saved letters. I had a dot matrix printer in the early 90s, and what I would do is I would run off a copy of a letter and sign it and mail it to Brent or Richard Arnold or Melody Rondeau or whoever I was mailing it to, and then I would run off a second copy for my records. And I saved some of these, and right before my divorce, I mailed them in a box to my mother, and my mother gave them to me about 10 years ago. She apparently got it in the mail. And these letters that I saved, and also like packages and stuff, I created a website that has pictures. I took pictures of all these. I actually scanned them on my computer and made picture files out of all those. So you can actually see pictures of the letters that I wrote to Brent in 1990. And you can tell by looking at these letters that the Star Trek the Next Generation episode, The Drumhead, that Brent Spiner was behind it in order to honor me. You see, at that time, I was having trouble with the state of Florida's HRS, which is the equivalent of the Department of Children and Families today. And my son accidentally got into some of my medications, and I had to take him to the emergency room, and we had to pump his stomach. We got him right away. I mean, we caught him right as he ingested the medicine, brought him to the emergency room. The thing is, because he got into these medicines, they sent a social worker to the hospital who interviewed me and said that they were required by law to come visit me in my home. So I allowed them in my home, and they tricked me into signing a paper to give them permission to educate me. I didn't have to sign the paper. And I asked them, I said, what if I don't sign this paper? And they said, well, it won't look good, but you don't have to sign it. And they said, and I said, well, I asked them what will happen if I sign it, and they said it'll just be one visit and then it'll be over. Well, they lied to me. I signed the paper to give them permission to educate me, to make sure nothing like this would happen again. It was just an accident, and it turned into giving the state government permission to harass me and to try to spy on me and to see if I was a bad parent. So I figured out that's what it turned into. And when I realized how inconsistent they were, I almost got an ulcer over this. And I was writing Brent Spiner at the time and telling him what I was going through. And I made a plea with him in January 1991. I said, can you please educate the world? Maybe you have connections with the media, and let them know that the state has no right to do this to parents. I was telling Brent that the state or the government has too much control over the family, and this isn't right. It's like they're trying to run my life and tell me how to be a parent, and I can't be my own parent. And all because I had a mistake and a little accident. They're acting like I committed first-degree murder. And what really, so I wrote Brent that letter, and he actually got together with some of the Star Trek The Next Generation producers, and they produced the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Drumhead. And when I saw that episode, I was actually videotaping. At that time, I had a VHS recorder. This was early 1990s. They didn't have DVDs back then. And I actually made a video cassette of every single Star Trek The Next Generation episode. I recorded them all. I don't think I kept all of them because I didn't like all the episodes. It started going downhill when Brannon Braga got added to the Star Trek writing department. I noticed his writings. Anyways, I'm going to have links underneath this video where you can see that Brent Spiner, the real Brent Spiner, did fall in love with me. He made Oh Yellow Eyes Is Back for me, and you can tell by the letters I wrote him, and that he was reading my mail, and that he was behind the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Drumhead, to let me know that behind the scenes, he was trying to help me with my dilemma with the state at that time. I was afraid I was going to lose my child to the state. And it was all over an accident. I was really trying to be a good parent. So he let me know that. So I had the real Brent Spiner in my life because you can see the connection between my correspondence with Brent and the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Drumhead. And you can view the evidence for that with a link underneath this video. And the last video I made was terrible resolution, so I'm using my Canon Vixia, and I'm going to use a different camera for this video. Anyway, so as far as the gun shooting incidents, Loree McBride orchestrated the Parkland, Florida incident because she hates Trump. She's trying to get rid of Trump, and she doesn't. Both Donald Trump and I are, actually, it was like I said in the previous video, I am the U.S. President, the U.S. Empress. And I really dislike that Loree McBride is orchestrating. She was behind the Las Vegas shooting too. And there was more than one shooter at both terrorist incidents. But that has not been reported. The reason they're not reporting that there was more than one shooter is because they don't want the world, Loree doesn't want the world to know that it was a conspiracy and that she was behind both incidents. She orchestrated both incidents to try to make it look like Trump or Vladimir Putin or somebody else besides her was behind it, and that she could put the blame on lack of gun control. Both sides have a point. There's pros and cons, but doing what she wants is not going to solve the problem, and maybe doing what the gun rights advocates want to do is not necessarily going to solve the problem either. The answer is my conspiracy law needs to be enforced, and we need to deal with Loree McBride Jesuits. The problem is not the weapons. The problem are the criminals. Loree McBride is not limited to guns. She can use cars, bombs, anything that will harm or kill, she's been doing it. And she's trying to blame it on the weapon. The problem is the criminal. But the best way to deal with the criminal is we need to come up with a way that will target the criminal and eliminate them. And that's what my conspiracy law is. So you can see a link underneath this video to my conspiracy law on how to target the criminal and eliminate them using brain and emotion reads. And then in case she's able to wipe out all the citizen scanners like in a school using maybe switch out technology, we can have another backup method to help protect the kids. And that would be like this school in Indiana does, the segment I have at the beginning that shows you. So we'll do conventional methods in combination with using 21st century scientific methods, the citizen scanner. Use both of them for our schools, and we may not want to just limit this to schools. We could, but that's a good way to do it for schools, like the smokes and all that, the smoke bomb or whatever they call that. I like that. So that one of my Facebook supporters showed that to me. So we'll do that plus my citizen scanners. And we got to focus on the criminal, not the weapons. We got to get rid of the criminal. They're going to find a way to get weapons. We focus on the criminal and getting rid of them, and that will solve the problem. And the way we get rid of the criminal, you enforce my conspiracy law. I wrote a new law about genetic Serakaki scanners, citizen scanners. Those laws need to be enforced.